Okay, what we're going to take a look at now is how we can modify this particular method so that instead of using this, we're going to use the getUserById, and what we're also going to want to do is be able to get our user ID in here as well. So what we want to do, in addition to returning the user's username in a token, we're going to also set the user ID inside there as well, so that we've got easy access to either the ID or the username when we receive a token. So what we'll do is we'll head over to our token service first of all and take a look at what we're doing inside here. So what we're doing currently is we're adding a new claim and we're setting the name ID to the user's username. But we're going to change this one because the name ID, well, we can use it for either or really, but the name ID is the only ID claim name that we really have access to. If we take a look at the options that we have, then there's no specific ID field. We do have a name ID, and we've also got a unique name property. So what we'll do is we'll use the unique name for the username, and we'll use the name ID for the user's ID, which is going to be the int. So what we'll do is we're going to set this one to the user.id. And because the ID is an integer and claims have to be strings, then we're also going to set this using the toString property. And what we'll do, we'll just copy this line down and we'll use the unique name, and we're going to set the username to this one. So we're going to say username. And what we'll need to do, we'll need to go over to our claims principal extensions and update that because we're going to need to change that inside there. So let's go across to our claims principal extensions. And at the moment, our application is going to be broken because this is not now our username. But because we thought ahead and we created this extension method, then we now only need to change this in one place. So what we'll do, instead of saying claim types name identifier, what we actually use in here is claim types.name for the username. And this represents, even though it's called a slightly different thing, this represents the unique name property that we set inside our token. And what we'll also do to make life easy for ourselves, we'll also add another extension method inside here, and we'll use that one to get the user ID. So what I'll do, I'll just copy this method down, and instead of get username, this is going to be get user ID. And what we'll do in here, instead of returning the claim types.name, this is going to be the name identifier. And we're going to be returning an int from this. Now we get an error here because this is a string, and we need to convert this into an integer that we're going to return. So what we'll do is we'll return int.parse, and then we can wrap the method here in parentheses, and we're going to return the integer of the user's ID. So what we should be able to do now is go and take a look at our log user activity method, and what we'll do is we'll swap username for user ID, and instead of using get username, we'll say using get user ID. And what this means now is that we can specify the get user by ID async method in here and swap username for user ID. And everything else stays the same. So what we should be able to do now is just go back to Postman and test this functionality still works. There's no reason it wouldn't do. But we also want to check that we haven't broken our application by making this change as well. So we'll head back to Postman, and first of all, let's just log in as Lisa, and we'll save the token just to make sure that we can still log in and nothing's broken in this case. And if we just copy the token, what we should find now is that inside this token is Lisa's user ID as well as their username. So we'll head over to jwt.io, and what we'll do, we'll just paste in the token. And what we can see now is that we've got a name ID equal to 1, and the unique name is Lisa. And if we go back and take a look at our application, and we'll just get users with just the default request with no other information, we want to make sure this request still works, and we can see this, and this is working fine. And if we go back and just update a user, let's go and update the user, and in the body of this request, I'm just going to say update intro 1 and click send. Then we get the 204 no content, and if we go and get the user by username and click on send, then we can see that we've got our updated user. So we haven't broken anything by making that change. And if I take a look at the last active, then this has been updated to today's date in my case. So our functionality still works. What we'll take a look at next is how we can sort on the client.